On January 9th, an announcement was made that shocked the internet.
It's not clickbait. On March 9th, I will be hosting my last Theory episode.
When I say that no one was ready for MatPat to say goodbye, it would be an understatement. People online were comparing MatPat leaving his hosting role to Steve leaving on Blue's Clues, and they're not wrong. Much like Steve, this man is leaving behind a legacy. He is leaving behind 5 channels with over 41 million subscribers between them and over $5 million raised for St. Jude's Hospital. Whether you love him or hate him, you cannot deny the impact that MatPat has made in his 13 years on YouTube. Hell, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't even be making videos. With the end, March 9th, coming later this week, I thought this would be the perfect time to show my appreciation to the man before he runs off into the sunset. To do this, I wanted to look back at the channel that started it all and see which of the 500 plus game theories were the best. So join me as we go over the top 10 game theories of the MatPat era. Before we get started though, I want to lay down some ground rules that I used while making this list. Rule 1. MatPat's final 9 theories were not considered when making this list. I wanted to get it out before March 9th, so I couldn't really wait for all of them to come out. Rule 2. Any 2-part theory is considered one episode. So say if a spot is going to the Watch_Dogs episodes, all parts would take up that one spot. And Rule 3. Only one theory per franchise. That means we're only looking at the best of the best. Keep in mind, this list is my opinion, so I doubt your top 10 is the same as mine. Like I said, there are over 500 of these. I'd be shocked if y'all agree with everything I say in this video. But with all that said, let's get this started. Number 10, why I gave the Pope Undertale. I'm really starting off this list with the good stuff, aren't I? Look, I know that a lot of people did not like this theory, if you can even call it a theory, and I get where they're coming from. This was the second time that MatPat talked about Undertale, and after Sans' Nest, this is not what people wanted. Thankfully though, this is my list, and I say him explaining why he gave the Pope a Steam code is one of the best game theories. You can direct all your complaints to the comment section down below so I can get that sweet engagement. But before you do that, let me explain why you're wrong for complaining. Because yes, though this episode is about why he gave the Pope a game that he may never have played, it is also a video on the psychology of Undertale and how non-gamers view the gaming community. I always saw giving the Pope Undertale as just a hook. As someone that loves learning about psychology and how the brain works, I loved learning about the things in this video like the availability heuristic and outgroup homogeneity bias. Also, learning that Undertale was actively getting my brain to fight these blew my mind. Can the video get a little preachy at times? Yes, the man even acknowledges this in the video itself, but the information here is extremely interesting, and without this theory, I don't think I ever would have realized just how much of an impact Undertale had on gaming culture. Seriously, if you only watched this when it came out, I urge you to try it again, look past the Pope, and enjoy learning about psychology. And after that, then you can rage in the comments that this took up the only Undertale spot on the list. Number 9. How much is Minecraft's diamond armor worth? In the past few years, game theory has made a lot of Minecraft videos with a big focus on lore. And although I do enjoy those, to me, no Minecraft theory has been better than his very first one, as it answered a question that I had since I first heard about Minecraft. Just how much would that full set of diamond armor be worth? This is also the theory that got me to subscribe to the channel, so nostalgia does play a bit of a factor. It's honestly just a really well done and really fun video. I don't know what it is, but the way that MatPat shows you and talks about the math makes it so interesting, and everything that I know about diamonds comes from here. If you haven't watched the video yet, I'm not going to spoil the final number, but let me just say, it big. Another thing that I love about this video is that it doesn't just end with the number, it actually all ends with a quick explanation on why the armor actually sucks. It's a truly great video, not just for its content, but for teaching me another definition of the word cleavage. Just a quick fun fact before moving on though, this was actually the first episode of Game Theory that the late great Ronnie worked on, and it gave me the idea that maybe one day I could work for Game Theory too, which, you know, hasn't happened yet. But moving on. Number 8, Portal 2, Does Chell Die? Before saying more, MatPat, if you would.
Spoiler warning, we're going to be talking about the ending of Portal 2.
If you somehow still haven't experienced Portal 2, there's your warning. One of his more recent theories, and in my eyes, a return to form in many ways. This theory was all about the iconic ending to Portal 2, where Chell shoots a portal on the moon and is exposed to the vacuum of space. Now, in the moment, because it is so freaking awesome, I never questioned it. But because MatPat be MatPat, he asked the question, is this possible the way that we see it? To me, what makes this episode so great is, like I said, it's a return to form. It's all about taking a moment from a game and applying real-life science to it like he did in the old days of the channel. But this time, with much better audio quality and editing. Also, it's so hard to believe that it took so long to get a theory actually going over the conditions in space and if you could survive it. Space is always just an interesting topic, but what's surprising is that it's only about half the video. Pretty quickly, he reveals that surviving in space is the easy part in this moment, before going on to do some G-force calculations. I just always love a theory where the issue is something that you wouldn't expect. But just when it seems like the G-forces would kill Chell, MatPat throws one final curve. I love the conclusion because realizing just how scientifically accurate Portal 2 was in its final moments is just cool. It's not often that MatPat finds something and goes, this is completely accurate. Usually, a theory like this would just end with a conclusion like, this is wrong but for a really weird reason, but this one doesn't. It's entertaining and it keeps you guessing while still being very easy to follow. Be warned though, if you ever do dream of going into space, do not watch this video. Trust me, it will ruin that dream quicker than a FNAF timeline when a new game comes out. Number 7, beware of Crow 64. Now this is probably what you were all expecting when I said best game theories. It's time for some creepy lore. I just love me a theory that makes me feel all kinds of creeped out while I'm watching it. I almost put Petscop here because of that fact, and its editing legitimately scared me at one point, but I decided to go with Crow 64. This one also freaked me out the first time I watched it. But what makes this one better than Petscop and all the rest is the absolute joy that MatPat has while he talks about it. You can legitimately feel the excitement in every line that he says, and it's downright infectious. It's always nice to see him excited about something new. With Crow 64 being one of the most elaborate ARGs ever covered on the show, MatPat gives it 100% effort trying to decipher the fake but now real game. The episode is really helped out by the fact that the puzzles are crazy good and have some really fun solutions. The guy that figured out that some sounds can be translated into letters is an actual genius. What really sucks about this theory though is that we never actually got a part 2. To be fair though, that's probably because the next puzzles haven't been solved yet. Honestly, if this had a proper conclusion, I think it would be so much higher on my list. Still, that doesn't take away from the fact that this episode is so good. Here's to hoping that one day we can get a part 2. Number 6, our first 2-part theory, How to Win at Love and Secrets of Dating. This one holds a special place in my heart. Not just because this is another psychology-heavy theory, but because this video actually got me an A on a final paper freshman year in college. No joke, I was in a writing class and our final was a research paper. I picked to research the psychology of dating and it actually listed these videos as one of my sources. In these 2 episodes, MatPat looks into dating sims and sees if playing them can give you an edge in the real-life dating world. Turns out, the answer is yes, especially with the rise of online dating. He then breaks his results into 6 easy steps. The topics he ends up covering are so interesting to me. Turns out, the psychology of love is both kind of simple and weird in the best way. To this day, I still break out the "do you like the taste of beer" or the 3 random questions fact whenever the situation comes up. What sets these videos apart though is the humor. MatPat has always liked to keep game theory on the family-friendly side, and watching him toe that line is beyond hilarious. I am 99% sure that some of these dating sims scarred the man for life. And him finding so many different weird terms for sex always makes me laugh. It's a perfect example of a theory that is interesting, has some useful information in real life, and is just entertaining. Definitely take this theory out on a date, but only after your propinquity is high enough and you've exchanged at least 10 messages. Also, don't start the conversation with "hi," don't be boring. Number 5, Doki Doki's Scariest Monster and Doki Doki Decoded. Speaking of dating sims, next up we got the original Doki Doki Literature Club theories. One of the few videos on the channel that's actually age restricted. To me, this is prime MatPat explains how to solve an ARG video. It's actually kind of similar to his Crow 64 and Inscription theories in a way. However, what makes this one stand above the rest in my eyes is the game itself. Doki Doki is a scary as hell game, and by the end of it, all the questions seem to be answered. So when I saw this scroll across my feed back in the day, I was really confused, but after I watched it, well, it clearly left an impact. This theory takes full advantage of the fact that it is 2 parts. Part 1 is everything that you can find in-game to support the theory, and Part 2 is everything outside of the game, the ARG part. What's great about these videos is their structure. It's almost written like a persuasive essay. At the beginning, MatPat states his thesis. These characters are from a different game, and the portrait of Markov is more than it seems. Then, he gives the evidence to support the theory, and by the end, you fully believe him. I always found it so cool that this whole story is hidden beneath another amazing story. It does suck though that the conclusion the evidence led him to turned out to be wrong, but you can't really blame MatPat for that. They did say 2019. MatPat may have gotten better at this style of video as time went on, but to me, this one will always be a cut above the rest. Oh no, I didn't mean it like that, Number 4, Link is dead in Majora's Mask. MatPat has made a lot of Zelda theories, and so many of them have been fantastic. Quick special shout out to which Link is the strongest and what timeline is Breath of the Wild in. However, I think we can all agree that the best one by far is Link is dead in Majora's Mask. Alongside Peanut Butter Gamer, probably the best guest he's ever had on the show, MatPat goes on to teach us all about the Majora's Mask grief theory. You know what that means, it's time for another psychology lesson. Well, only for half the video this time. In this episode, instead of coming up with a new theory, they basically just review an already existing one. A Morty before he actually called them Morty. As always, I love anything to do with psychology, so obviously, I really enjoy them describing how each area links to one of the 5 stages of grief. They then go one step further to find more evidence to support the theory. Is it a really simple video? Yes, but what makes it truly special is the chemistry between MatPat and Peanut Butter Gamer. This is, without a doubt, one of the funniest episodes of game theory. Usually when a guest is on, they have some understanding of the theory in some way. PBG might have known a bit about this, but sells it like he is completely clueless. Also, I love the running joke of MatPat constantly stopping him from ending the episode early. The beauty of this episode is all in its execution. Honestly, I don't really think I did it justice, so go check it out for yourself. Number 3, why living on BioShock Infinite's floating city would suck. The second oldest on my list, and one that I don't think gets enough love in the GT community. MatPat has only talked about BioShock twice during game theory. Both, oddly enough, to see if the city in the game would be possible in real life. In my eyes, this is without a doubt the best MatPat gives a science lesson episode, and proves that there is no boring science, only boring teachers. This theory is all about the floating city of Columbia and figuring out if any of this would actually be possible. Obviously, the answer is no, but the real surprise is exactly why the answer is no. To this day, I think it is still one of the most interesting episodes of game theory, despite the early game theory stank that it's covered in. Obviously, he goes over things like altitude sickness and the lack of air, but he also ventures into some really complicated fields like quantum mechanics. And no, not the Marvel version, I mean real quantum mechanics. What's really impressive about all of this is that despite the complicated nature of the science, the video is still incredibly easy to follow. My favorite part though has to be the end. It all leads to the insane conclusion that yes, theoretically, the floating city in the clouds, Columbia, is possible, and if you get acclimated, the altitude would not kill you. However, the city would still suck to live on because of one reason so mundane and funny, I dare not spoil it right now. It may be on the shorter side, but that doesn't take away from how entertaining the overall experience is. Number 2, FNAF 2, Gaming's Scariest Story. The reason I included the one theory per franchise rule is because of Five Nights at Freddy's. It is, without a doubt, the reason game theory has grown so much, and I think MatPat knows that. That's why so many of the over 50 FNAF theories are so good and would rank as some of my favorites. However, I didn't want them to dominate the list, so which one made the cut? I could do any of his final timeline episodes, because anytime he tries to solve the thing, he makes an absolute meal out of it. The theories revolving around the survival logbook are also a lot of fun to watch, because a book for children mentally destroys a grown man. I almost wanted to put Dream Theory here, but in the end, the best FNAF theory has to be his first one. No, not that one. I'm talking about his FNAF 2 theory, his first video taking a crack at the lore of these games. This is Genesis right here. Back when there were only 2 FNAF games, MatPat took on the challenge of deciphering the lore hidden within them, clearly unaware of the repercussions that this would have on the rest of his life. The video tackles 2 main things: the timeline and who the Purple Man is. This would be the simplest the timeline would ever be.
I hope you're still with me, because this is more complicated than the Zelda timeline.
No, it's not, MatPat. Not yet, at least. I remember before Sister Location was announced, people would use this video to understand the fundamentals of the FNAF timeline. Sure, most of this would be retconned later, but at the time, this video felt like a map leading you to a treasure. It was just so satisfying to watch it all be broken down. Then there's the Purple Man. Before there was William Afton, there was the phone guy. And that was such a simple and clean answer. Looking back on this theory, it still holds up so well. MatPat is on top form with this one, and I think this was the first theory that had horror elements mixed into the script and editing. That ending still gives me chills. In my mind, without this, we wouldn't have the game theory we know today, and for that alone, it deserves to be near the top of the list. But unfortunately, there is one theory that, to me, stands above everything else, including Five Nights at Freddy's. When MatPat released his Goodbye Internet video, he said this:
Rosalina's Peach's daughter, Peach is dead. One of my all-time favorite episodes that we've ever done on the channel.
Well, not only is that theory one of his favorites, but they are also my favorite. Number 1 is Rosalina Unmasked, Part 1 and 2. If you ever wanted 2 videos that showcases everything great about MatPat and game theory, you watch these 2. In this theory, MatPat takes a stab at determining who Rosalina's parents are. This leads him down some crazy routes, culminating in an insane conclusion. It's actually those crazy routes that make this theory so memorable. Think about it. It starts with a simple question: who is this woman's parents? Look over the genetics of Mario characters, look at what information we get in the game, then boom, Peach is Rosalina's mom confirmed, right? Well, yes, until he drops the bombshell that Rosalina's mom is dead. With Peach being very much alive, how could she be the mom then? This leads into part 2, which goes into multiverse theory before it became an overused trope, and the theory of relativity. No lie, this video is what taught me the meaning of E=mc² and time dilation. It's all a huge jump from talking about Punnett squares and explaining how eye color works, but it somehow works. But MatPat isn't done yet. Right as the video is about to end, he drops one more bombshell that shows Luigi some love. This theory truly has everything you want in a game theory episode and then some. The writing and editing are on top form. The way he links everything together is so smooth, and I genuinely think every joke hits its mark perfectly. Ronnie screwing up MatPat's flow stands out to me because it somehow feels like improv, even though you know it can't be. Even the stupid beginning of part 2 still makes me laugh. It always goes on for so much longer than you remember. I also think this was the best using science to confirm lore type video to this day. Every piece of evidence he uses really convinces you, and the moment when he reveals the tree, the fact I somehow still get chills at that part shows you just how good the whole video is. Seriously, if you haven't seen it, check it out, because the only way to truly understand why this is the best is to go watch it. And just like that, I'm done. And later this week, MatPat will be done too. It's honestly still strange to think about. I watched over 500 game theories to make this video, and each one came with its own set of memories. It really showed me just how much game theory has impacted me throughout my life. I know that game theory as a whole isn't going anywhere, and I'm sure Tom will do amazing work, but still, something that has been a part of my life for 13 years is changing, and that makes me sad. But ironically enough, I think South Park said it best. Yes, I'm sad, but at the same time, I'm really happy something can make me feel this sad. I know it's unlikely that MatPat will ever see this video or hear this, but thankfully, he doesn't have to realize the impact that he has made, to realize how many people he's inspired, or to realize how happy he made us for us to feel this sad. On the off chance he does hear this, thank you for the memories, MatPat, and thank you all for watching. Wait, hold on. I can't end the video about game theory like that. It would feel wrong if I didn't say the thing. Plus, this might be the only chance I get to say it. So, but that's just a theory. A game theory. Woo! Finally got to say it! Thanks for watching.